What's up, everybody? This is the Gold Standard Season 94 coming at you with another video. Gonna do a wrestling game review, so this speaks for itself. WWF Wrestlemania 2000 for the N64. This was the first game to be produced by THQ, in other words, as well as Aki Corporation, who were responsible for producing some parts of the game as well. Most of it, actually. This game came around about the November of 1999, so it was pretty much towards the end of the decade and in turn the new millennium. Hence the reason WrestleMania 2000. It's pretty ironic since that logo was used for the actual pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view came out months after the game was released. So I kind of find it really ironic, if you want to put it into terms. It's based around the time frame is based around the later half of 1998 as up to the spring of 99. You had like a couple you had like around the corporation era as well as a bit of the corporate ministry. Now the roster, that's pretty much what it was based around. Yeah, of course you had like your Austins, your Rocks, your Mick Foleys, your Big Shows, your Triple H's, he was coming up at the time, and you also have some tag teams as well, like the Hardy Boys, the Acolytes, the New Age Outlaws. Too Much. They were too cool, but they were under their Too Much persona. Headbangers, and the list goes on and on. So they have a lot of there are a lot of other wrestlers on the undercard as well. So that's pretty interesting. It's for a roster that's maybe like 50 plus people in there. So it was really amazing they actually got a lot of those wrestlers in the game. And I should discuss maybe the main menu. You have like the exhibition mode. You have the King of the Ring tournament. You have, of course, the edit mode, which in turn is actually the Career Wrestler mode, is also included there. The options, the data, if you have like a controller pack, create a pay-per-view, the Royal Rumble mode, and lastly the Road to WrestleMania, I will all get to all those 8 modes in the main menu that I mentioned. I'll get into depth with that. I'm gonna start with the exhibition mode because it's usually where it's up to like 4 players, so it's like a multiplayer there. You have your typical one-on-one matches, tag matches, triple threat, and steel cage matches. Now, unfortunately, steel cage matches was the only added stipulation to the game. Unfortunately, they couldn't get like an Inferno match or any of that kind, or a casket or an Iron Man match. It's kind of interesting that they did that. It seemed like that there was like an Inferno match, because if you look at the intro to the WrestleMania 2000, there was like a scene where Paul Bearer was holding Stephanie McMahon, and there was like this fire graphic going on, and the Undertaker was also with him as well. So it's kind of, because I thought there was an Inferno match in the game, but when I looked up and when I got to like the exhibition mode, there was no Inferno match. So I wouldn't say it was disappointing anyway, because Inferno matches wasn't used again until like several years later, until like Armageddon 06. But yeah, that was like, because Inferno matches weren't really used as much. Let's see. And of course the steel cage match, pretty much you can't pin or submit your opponent. You have to climb over the cage, do it the hard way. It includes a lot of button mashing, so you have to wear your opponent down enough before you could climb up the cage. And you have to have like you have to have like a high amount of meter. The highest is the red and the lowest is the blue. So blue kind of symbolizes danger, and the red meter is like you're almost getting it's really enough to climb over the cage, and it requires a lot of button mashing. That's what I'm basically saying there. And then there along the way, there's also a create a belt. I mean, you can't really actually customize your own actual belt, but you could give it a name. and you could pick one of the tiles that are provided to you in the game. So there's 6 belts, but there's also another belt, which is a Smoke and Skull belt that you have to unlock. What else? And then along the way, like after you pick your wrestlers that you want to put in the match, there's like these rules, there's like these stipulations you could set up. There's all kinds, you know, whether or not you want to have pinfall or submission, or maybe at ringside you could maybe make it a lumberjack match. Of course, there's no wrestlers surrounding the ring though, but like if you get eliminated, like if you pick lumberjack matches and yeah, if you knock your opponent down to ringside, they're automatically going to go back up the apron. So you can't really control your opponent when it's a lumberjack match, and if you're knocked at ringside. Let's see. And you know, you could use like a first blood mode. Like if you say like, if you want like your opponent to lose a match, you could probably stipulate a first blood where you have to make your opponent bleed to win. I mean, you could just turn all the pinfall submissions off and to make a true first blood match, or you can make like a last man standing by maybe turning the TKO system on. There's all sorts of a lot of people criticize that there wasn't a lot of match stipulations, but I think thanks to the like when you get to like the rules, like where you could set up like how the match will be stipulated, you could pick like yes or no and yes and no to certain stuff like pinfalls if you don't want pinfalls off, or you can make a submission match, so that kind of works well. Just say yes to submission and the rest you could turn them off. Maybe not rope break, but and of course the game engine, if you played some of the past WCW N64 games, and I'm talking about the ones that THQ and AKI produce, it's pretty much usually the same control engine, the game as far as game controls go. So you could do like front weak grapples, front strong grapples, and a lot of that stuff. So it's really the same. So it doesn't require a lot of button mashing like in the WF games that came before it, like Warzone and Attitude, where it requires like so many button combinations to perform a move. So that kind of irritated me. So, but I'm kind of glad that wasn't the case in WrestleMania 2000, and the finishers are a lot easier to pull off in the game than the other WF games I mentioned. Let's see. I think that's really all I covered about exhibition mode. And also there's a King of the Ring mode. It's just a tournament you could set up. It's up to 16. You could have wrestlers up to 16 players. You could be going after maybe a title. You could put a title up on the line. You could have tag team tournaments as well. So it's pretty much what you would see in the King of the Ring match. You know, the winner would go on to advance to another round, and eventually it comes down to the finals. And if you win, then there's gonna be like a little wide screen that says that congratulations, you won King of the Ring. So that's pretty much what the King of the Ring tournament mode is. You have the create a pay-per-view mode. Now, like the create a belt mode, you can't actually customize your own pay-per-view, just like you can't customize your actual belt. So so you just pretty much make a name for it, put the date, and the home and the place in the venue where the venue is going to be held. That's pretty much that, and also you just pick the pay-per-view. So it's unfortunate you can't actually customize like your arena. Like you could like mess around with the arena, like change the color of an arena, or you can't really actually create your own, like truly create your own arena by adding sets and rampways and all that stuff. So but it's pretty basic, straightforward. Like I said, you can name your own venue, the name of the venue that the pay-per-view will be called. And speaking of the arenas, there are like only 6 of them. There's the Raw, Sun Night Heat. What else? They had Survivor Series '98 arena, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and of course WrestleMania 15. But yeah, that's pretty much those 6 arenas that are in the game. So you could stipulate you could stipulate any matches that you want in the create pay-per-view mode, and when you finish it, you could either do it again or you could like delete and create another one. It's up to 3 files that you can create for create pay-per-view mode. And also, let's see what I missed out. Oh yeah, the edit mode. Now you could basically edit out any costumes for any actual wrestlers that are already in the game. But you could create, you could edit their attires, but you can't really edit their movesets unless you maybe have like a Game Shark or something. But personally, Game Sharks for the N64 were always hard to find. I don't think they ever sold it in retail stores. If they ever did, let me know. But I never stumbled upon a Game Shark for a Nintendo system. So it's rather unfortunate. And you can also create a wrestler, there's like different columns. There's one that says like original A, it's like one of those alphabets, and it says original, insert alphabet here, like original A, original K. That means that that's a sign that you can actually create that wrestler that you want to create. It's really good. It's really good for a creative wrestler. It's very simplistic, but I think it's better than trying to make it so complex like the newer WWE games. But personally, I've never played new WWE games, so I can't really. I could say later WWE games that I played after this game. Just typical. You just name your wrestler, the height and the weight, and the entrance theme that you want that wrestler to come out. And of course, there's the you could make it adjust their appearance, make their own move sets. So that's a big deal. And they also have a couple moves, that not a lot of wrestlers, that not any wrestler in the game has ever done. So there's like a burning hammer in the game. There's what moves that weren't used by a lot of wrestlers. There's a lot of other moves that the wrestlers don't do, that actually don't have as their finisher, but they do in like other wrestling companies, like the spinning torch rack done by Lex Luger. And they also have a lot of other taunts from the WCW games as well, so they're a lot easier to create those. So you could actually create them pretty well in the game. Like you want to create, like they have the Diamond Dallas Page Diamond Cutter taunt, like with the diamond sign, like this, bang. So that's just an example there, but it's also in the game as well. So a lot of WCW taunts are there, and a lot of move sets and leftovers. And you can also go to their attributes. You could choose which fighting style you want and how they're going to reverse the moves, and you can also create you can also make enemies out of those wrestlers. So they have like these 3 rivals, three rivals that you could choose, so that like if you play a wrestler, like if you stipulate yes to an interference in a match, then that particular opponent, that particular wrestler that you chose as your rivalry, will likely interfere in your match. So that's interesting there. You can even pick a wrestler that you accompany to. So any wrestler in particular, like if you want Ivory to come out as your manager, you could go to accompanied by and then pick the wrestler that you want to choose. Like I said, Ivory as an example. And then when you go to like the entrances, she'll actually come out to your she'll accompany you. That's what I like about that. So the Korea wrestler mode was really top notch. Let's see. And you can also get to clone your own wrestler too, so forgot to mention that as well. And let's see, there's a Royal Rumble mode. You could either use there's different varieties, stipulations, like team battle, and then the random, where you can't really pick who should come out at what number when it comes to random mode. So If you pick random, there's gonna be other wrestlers that are gonna come out, and you don't even know who particularly. But whereas team battle, you can actually choose the wrestlers that should come out. So if you pick The Rock, and then like as the first opponent, and you pick another second player that's like Stone Cold, he'll come out as well. Um, and then you could go up to like maybe 4 wrestlers, but it kind of depends on the numbers that you stipulated. So like if China, like after you pick The Rock, and then you have to pick another 1 player character that you have to choose to, like in case that if another wrestler gets eliminated, you could pick another wrestler that's gonna substitute it. So like after you pick The Rock, like if you want to pick the second player in your first to be China, then like when Rock gets eliminated, then you'll play as China. That's pretty much how team battle goes. You can also stipulate like if you want elimination or no eliminations. So even though it's a Royal Rumble match, you would expect an opponent to be eliminated by knocking him off the ring, or there's no pinfall. You can even stipulate pinfalls and submissions as well, and you could fight at ringside, making maybe like a hardcore battle royal or something. But it's pretty cool. Like even though it's a Royal Rumble match, it's not like you could just stipulate whatever matches that you want. Like you could have you could be fighting at ringside but not get eliminated. So I mean, it depends on the stipulation and the rules that you selected prior to starting the match. So I love that mode. I mean, not a lot of people seem to mention about the additional features that the Royal Rumble mode had in this game. So Royal Rumble I really like. Let's see what else. And lastly, Road to WrestleMania. It's pretty much a single mode. You take your wrestler, whether it be a career wrestler or an actual wrestler, and you also have to pick a tag team as well along the way. It goes up from, it's pretty much like a season mode that goes up from the Raw after WrestleMania to the actual WrestleMania. So it's kind of like working up the ranks, kind of like what you would do. Like if a wrestler were to be on the winning streak, the more likely it is that you get to challenge a wrestler for a particular title. Like usually for me when I play, when I first find like, I don't know how to explain this really, but usually the first title I would go after is usually the hardcore title, because that's usually where the first thing that comes up. The interesting thing is, it's possible to actually win all the titles. I mean, I'm not joking. You can actually win all the titles in the game, and there's 6 of them. Like I mentioned, the hardcore title, the European, the Intercontinental, the tag titles, and even the world title and the Intercontinental title. I'm not sure I ever mentioned the Intercontinental title, but all the titles that are in the game. So it's pretty much interesting there. So I actually did win all those titles, by the way. So it's actually possible to do so, and you could if you win a match, the more likely is that you'll get a title shot. But if you lose a match, the more likely you won't really get any title shots, and it's more or less likely that you can't participate in like a King of the Ring tournament or a Royal Rumble match, depending on your win-loss record. So it's pretty realistic. It kind of makes sense though. I actually like the Road to WrestleMania mode. I mean, it's very challenging. I think it's more challenging than the other single player mode that came out on another WWF game after this, but I'm not going to go in depth with that. But getting back to Road to WrestleMania, there are a couple wrestlers. There are like 7 wrestlers you can unlock. You have to get them in different ways. I'm not sure if I want to spoil it to you, but there are 7 wrestlers that you have to unlock by accomplishing certain tasks, and playing a certain wrestler to unlock that particular character. So there are wrestlers that you can unlock, and there's also non-wrestlers like valets and managers and such. And also, depending on that, like towards the end of the game, let's see. So it goes up to like Raw to WrestleMania, to the WrestleMania, being like the last venue before the Road to WrestleMania mode ends. And it depends. Like if you win the WF title, it'll say congratulations. There's gonna be a message that's gonna say congratulations. But if you don't win the WF title, or if you don't walk out of WrestleMania with the WF title, it's just gonna say try again. So the message at the end of the Road to WrestleMania mode actually is a big deal. If you want to unlock a lot of stuff. And in the tag match, like in tag team wrestling, if you keep losing matches to your tag team partner, there's gonna be like this little cut scene that says that I don't like you, and you have to challenge that wrestler. There's an interference, like if a wrestler were to interfere in one of your matches, there's likely that you have to challenge that wrestler that interfered in your match at like a week later. So it's a big deal. There's some continuity there. There are times where you have to face the wrestler again and again and again, so that gets pretty annoying. I mean, Road to WrestleMania, I mean, it's so in depth than more than a lot of people think it is. It doesn't matter if you win or lose a match. I mean, you don't have to try again unless you want to, so it's pretty optional. Like if you lost like a WF title match on purpose, you could like exit out of Road to WrestleMania and then go back to Road to WrestleMania again, and you could actually wrestle that match again. So that way you could just try it over and over until you win a title or you win a match that you thought you can beat. So yeah, overall, Road to WrestleMania is a very exciting mode. Fortunately, it's only one player, but I'm not really making a big deal out of that because, well, it's really a challenge. The opponents get really, really difficult, especially the main eventers, and yeah, usually the lower cards are usually the easiest wrestlers to beat, whereas like the big timers like Triple H's, The Rocks, and the Austins are pretty challenging, so it makes sense. So I like that, I like that realism there. But Road to WrestleMania was a very enjoyable mode, despite all the just how complicated it was to win titles and the Royal Rumbles and a lot of other challenges. I mean, I'd say the Royal Rumble is probably the toughest because you could easily get eliminated and stuff, and it's probably going to take you like half an hour or an hour or so to actually go through all the wrestlers in the Royal Rumble match, especially Road to WrestleMania goes. So yeah, that's really about it, really. WrestleMania 2000, if I had to give it a score, I would give it maybe 4 out of 5 stars. It's really that damn good of a game. A step up from the previous WF games that came before it. Like I said, fortunately, I couldn't get Attitude. I never got to play Attitude. I did do a review previously on Warzone, and that review speaks for itself. So I recommend you check it out. So like I said, WrestleMania 2000, very enjoyable game. Still enjoyable to this day, even though there are other games that pretty much surpass it. And that's another game I'm going to probably do a follow-up to, maybe sometime down the line. Maybe not today, but WWF No Mercy for the N64. So be aware of that. But overall, WrestleMania 2000, that's pretty much it for my review. So let me know what y'all think. Comment, rate what you all think about this game. So that's really it for this video. I mean, till next time, this is the Gold Standard CH94 signing out.